Welcome to Let's Talk Bayfront, a lunchtime chat about the transportation projects happening along the Bayfront Parkway in the city of Erie. I'm your host, Jill Harry, the press officer and community relations coordinator for the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation's Northwest region. Started in late 2023, the Central Bayfront Parkway project is a multifaceted project with lots of components. The aim of the project is to increase connectivity between the city and the waterfront while also increasing safety for pedestrians and cyclists. To accomplish this, three intersections are being reconstructed, including roundabouts at Sassafras Street Extension and Holland Street, and a grade-separated intersection that is being built at State Street. The project is so much more than that. It also includes completing missing links in the multi-use trail on the waterfront side of the parkway, relocating utilities underground, and of course, the construction of the new pedestrian bridge over the Bayfront at Holland Street. With a project this large scale, it is expected that sometimes we're going to come upon the unexpected. That means behind the scenes, our construction leadership team adapts to work and maintain the overall objective. Oftentimes, those changes happen without the public even noticing, and sometimes it means updates that can affect the traffic management plan. Today, we have two members of our construction team, Doug Fry and Justin Baker. They will be talking about how the Central Bayfront Parkway project team has been working to overcome some unexpected challenges and how our proposal will temporarily change travel on the Bayfront. Before we dive into that discussion, a reminder to those listening live, you can submit questions throughout the program by using the Q&A chat box feature at the top of your screen. As time allows, we'll get to as many of the questions on today's topic as we can. And with that, I want to officially welcome Doug and Justin back to the show. I know you guys have both been on multiple times, but for those who might be listening for the first time, a quick recap on your position as it relates to this project.
Yeah, thanks, Jill. So my name is Justin Baker. I'm the project manager on site, and with me is Doug.
Doug Fry. I am the assistant construction engineer or manager for the project.
So before we get into the details of the discussion, I think it's important for people to hear that access to the waterfront businesses have remained open. I think there is sometimes a little bit of confusion about that and how nothing in today's proposal is going to change that.
That's right, Jill. Ensuring there's access to the business along the waterfront and the waterfront attractions, as well as the residential and downtown areas south of the Parkway, has always been part of the equation when we discuss traffic changes. And has been since early in the design stages. It's one of the reasons the Port Authority made improvements to the West Front Street project, or their street, prior to our project. So while drivers might have to turn off the Bayfront Parkway at a little bit different spot than usual, they have been and will continue to be able to reach Dobbins Landing, Smuggler's Wharf, Oliver's, and all the other businesses and recreational destinations on the waterfront.
Okay, so let's get into the details of today's discussion. The work schedule has changed over time, so what are the challenges that have necessitated some of those changes?
Yeah, so right out of the gate, we had to take on two of the more difficult portions of the project. Included relocating the existing electric underground, as well as completing the work in the old GAF property, which presented a host of environmental and safety challenges. The underground utility relocations required a nearly complete redesign due to unforeseen circumstances. Originally, the work was about 500 feet to get across State Street in the Bayfront. The eventual path ended up adding nearly 1,200 feet of conduit banks. With that, all the utility relocations require a lot of coordination between PennDOT, our contractor, sometimes their subcontractors, and of course, the utility companies and their contractors or subcontractors as well. So we work through coordination and agreements throughout the design process, but the utility and their contractors don't work for us in the same way that our contractor does. So a lot of additional coordination is needed. Their priorities can also be affected by things such as the extreme weather in other parts of the state or country that require their crews to manage. Additionally, environmental permits and redesigns need to be resolved whenever changes are required, which adds yet another layer of coordination. So we attempted to catch up during the winter months that are traditionally a shutdown for us, but unfortunately, after a few years of mild winters, we had a more typical Erie winter, and we're continuing to look for opportunities to do work previously planned for later in the project to keep things active and moving forward whenever the challenges slowed down or stop work in one spot. But we are limited in what we can achieve in that respect due to just environmental and logistical issues.
So to be direct, are we as far along with this project as we'd hoped we would be when things started in late 2023?
No, we have what we refer to a scheduled recovery to accomplish because of the situations that that Justin just spoke about. We are maintaining our goal to get the project completed in 2027 as best we can, but that means we have to go back and look at how and when we plan to do things, determine if there are opportunities for efficiency gains by constructing some features in a different order or changing how we maintain traffic through and around the work zone. What we determined is that State Street intersection and the associated structures is our greatest opportunity to make up the biggest stride towards the schedule recovery and the 2027 deadline. So therefore, we are proposing a change to the plan for traffic management at and near the State Street intersection.
And I think that that is what most of the people have probably tuned in to hear about today, the changes to the traffic management plan at and near State Street.
Sure, yeah, but it's good to remember that our plan when the project started included closures of the Bayfront Parkway at State Street as needed during stages 3 and 4 for the construction of the bridge and the placement of the beams. In addition, the original construction sequence also reduced Parkway traffic down to one lane in each direction for an extended period and involved closure of the southern or the downtown side of the State Street intersection for approximately 18 months and closure of the northern or the waterfront side of the intersection for 12 months. A transformation like what is in store for State Street simply can't happen without some closures. In total, it was going to take about 31 months or a little over 2.5 years for access between the Bayfront Parkway and State Street to be restored. The proposed plan reduces the overall time down to approximately 12 to 14 months, which requires some changes in how vehicle traffic is maintained. And instead of reconstructing the intersection in separate stages over a period of several years, the short portion of the Bayfront Parkway between Sassafras Street Extension and Holland Street would be closed to traffic beginning later this summer and would remain closed until the State Street intersection is complete.
What would that mean for pedestrians?
Pedestrians will continue to follow the detour previously planned for State Street work, but instead of being detoured for about 18 months, we anticipate that they'll have full access to the new intersection. It'll have the shorter crosswalks in 12 to 14 months. This work would include the upgrades to the pedestrian detour route to help ensure safe and efficient travel.
So during the design process, we talked about how a large percentage of the drivers on the Bayfront travel through State Street without turning. I know that was the topic that came up several times. How will this traffic management plan affect that traffic that is coming through the Bayfront as through traffic and not trying to access the businesses?
Yes, in preparation for the Central Bayfront Parkway project, PennDOT completed an extensive traffic efficiency and safety project along 12th Street. In addition to updating all the traffic signals, message boards were installed on 79 and the Bayfront connector to help inform drivers about estimated travel times. 12th Street would be the official detour for the Bayfront Parkway through traffic during the proposed closure.
And so those who still want to get down to the waterfront side and visit one of the businesses or destinations there, especially those that are along State Street, how will this affect them?
Well, access to the waterfront and downtown, it has been and will continue to be made available via the Sassafras Street extension and Holland Street. As mentioned earlier, the original sequence involved severing the Bayfront Parkway access to State Street. So the detour plan for the businesses and destinations on the waterfront side was part of the original plan. So for drivers approaching from the east side, they would turn at Holland Street and use the east front street. For drivers approaching from the west side, they would turn at Sassafras Street extension and use the west front street extension. Both roads, excuse me, will bring you to the open portion of State Street and allow you to access all the businesses and the amenities along the water. I just want to reiterate that the detour that I just mentioned is specifically designed for those visiting the waterfront attractions and is not intended for through traffic. Through traffic should use the posted detour and the city grid to access destinations south of Parkway. To ensure the safety and the access for pedestrians, we'll be repainting the crosswalks on West Front Street extension and East Front Street, adding new signs and signals along the pedestrian route to alert traffic of these crossings. We will also be adjusting the timing of the traffic signals at Holland Street and the Parkway and paving a portion of Holland Street and West and East Front Streets and installing temporary stop signs at Holland and Sassafras Street extension and Front Streets.
So sorry, let me start that question again. If we close the Bayfront Parkway around State Street intersection after Labor Day this year, when do we expect it to reopen?
The updated intersection and ramps are expected to be open in the fall of 2026. Then the project would wrap up in 2027 with the opening of the pedestrian bridge and the roundabout at Holland Street.
And if we proceeded with the original traffic management and construction sequence, what kind of timeline are we looking at without this change?
Yeah, so because of all the challenges we face with utility relocations, environmental concerns, et cetera, maintaining the original traffic management plan and construction sequence would mean the State Street intersection would be open fall of 2028 and push the overall project to be complete in 2029.
Okay, so that's a couple extra years, and we've all heard the adage, time is money. So how does that play into this scenario?
Yeah, time definitely is money. The longer the project lasts, the greater the chance for additional costs related to several factors. Equipment, payroll, temporary property usage for contractors, lay down yards, just to give a few high-level examples. In the case of the Central Bayfront Parkway project, that additional completion time I just mentioned could cause an estimated $8 million in additional accumulated costs. So yeah, time definitely is money.
All right, we do have a couple questions coming in, but before we get to that, I have one more question for you. Do the changes we discussed here today include an alteration to the overall design of this project?
No, the project design remains the same. There's still going to be a roundabout at Sassafras Street and another at Holland. There will still be safer, shorter pedestrian crossings at State Street with the through traffic flowing below the main intersection. There will still be a pedestrian bridge at Holland and other pedestrian related improvements throughout the corridor. The project goals and overall design remain the same. We're simply constructing these features in a different manner to reduce the duration.
Well, thank you, Doug and Justin. You've done a great job explaining all this today, but some of us are visual learners. So if anyone listening would like to see some of the things that we're talked about today and the comparison, we do have boards that will be on display during our open house that is scheduled from 3 to 6 this Thursday, May 29th at Erie Western PA Port Authority office on 1 Holland Street in Erie. Like I said, there was going to be some maps. There will also be PennDOT staff there to talk with you one-on-one about any questions or concerns you might have about this change to the traffic management plan. We also have those boards up on the website, so anyone listening now or that listens to the recording is free to go there. It's PennDOT.pa.gov/Bayfront Parkway Project. You go to the public involvement section and you'll be able to find the boards as well as a comment form. So if you're listening now and you have any kind of feedback you'd like to give, positive or concerns that you have, that's a place where you can go and give that as well as using the Q&A here today. So with that, we are going to switch over here to a few questions that have come in as we've been talking. The first one says, you said the closure of the Bayfront won't happen until after Labor Day. So how will we know if it's going to happen and when it's going to happen?
Yeah, so we're hosting a meeting on Thursday at the Port Authority's facility, just off of Holland Street at 1 Holland Street. With that, we're asking for input from the community and the stakeholders. We're certainly doing our diligence and trying to make sure we're making the best decision we can in order to best provide for the Commonwealth and its travelers.
And we'll be putting out press releases as it gets closer to the time to let everybody know what our plans are and the details as we get closer.
Yeah, and I'll just weigh in a little bit on that question as well. The website I just mentioned would be one place we would post that information that Doug was just talking about, the press releases. Also, we have the Facebook page, which may be how some of you found the episode here today. So you can always check out the Bayfront Parkway Project Facebook page, and we'll give updates there as well. And then lean on some of our partners up there in Erie to help us spread the word. Okay, our next question is a little more specific. It says, where will the truck traffic to and from Erie sand and gravel be routed? My trucks travel that stretch dozens of times every day. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that specific business, or maybe the listener would like to give a little more information as to where it's located, but maybe you can talk a little more about the detours, if nothing else.
Well, the official detour route, this is going to get into potentially posted and bonded roads, and I don't know the city's grid exceptionally well. The official detour for the department would be to go back out to the basically the east side connector up to 12th Street, 12th to cross over to 79, or vice versa.
And maybe this is also a good time as we wait to see if any other questions come in. We can just talk a little bit about some of those things that we did in preparation for this project to help people figure out the best way across town if that's what their aim is. So you mentioned we have those message boards. There's also the 511 online program that helps people see traffic speeds on some of the major roadways. Can you elaborate on where those message boards are?
Yeah, so the message board that's on the Bayfront connector is just north of 38th Street if you're heading north. So it gives you time to make a decision before you hit 26th Street or 12th. And then on I-79, it's just north of the exit with Interchange Road, kind of adjacent to, more or less right behind the Mill Creek Mall. In both instances, like I said, the information will be shared across there, notifying travelers of the posted detour route. And 26th Street is another great route that can be utilized, to help facilitate traffic.
All right, well, it doesn't look like we have any other questions right now, but it's open for additional questions if anyone wants to email them to us, and we can respond that way as well. So the email address is bayfrontproject@pa.gov. You can send us any kind of concerns you have about the project there, and someone from the construction team or the community relations team will get back to you with an answer. You can come down to the meeting that's on Thursday from 3 to 6 at the Port Authority office there at the end of Holland Street, or you can go to the Facebook page. So you can reach out to us however you feel comfortable, and we'll try to get back to you about any of the concerns or questions that you have pertaining to the project and the proposed closure of the Bayfront. So thank you again to Justin and Doug for taking time to explain all of this stuff to us. I'm sure that we'll be talking again in the future as we get closer to any big changes happening along the Bayfront. Thank you to everyone who listened in and to Stephanie who produced today's episode. Everyone have a great afternoon.